The ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Shyzalosophy 101. Good. Here's your host, Shyzabox. Is this show starting? Oh, it must be. Oh, we heard our introduction. Oh, that must be our applause. Don't worry, we're here. What a welcoming crowd as always. Get out of here. And the horse you rode in on. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome nuns and all, priests, preachers, cardinals, bishops, rabbis, whoever's out there, missionaries, anyone just looking for a good little hangout time, this, that, the other, doesn't matter. Welcome, welcome. We have got a show for you today. That's right, something to celebrate, because it's free. Nothing else going on anyway, right? Yes, that was funny. Laughter warranted. Needless to say, we know that as we get started in the day and start kicking back and having our wake-up sessions of, waking up, whatever you do to wake up, doesn't matter. As we start going through and, contemplating what the day in itself is going to bring, then we thought to ourselves today, what better way than to just acknowledge that it's going to stay broken for a bit. We're kind of tired on focusing on it and such, and it's a mistake that we caused on our own selves, right? And we'll just leave it at that and let the update be the update. So, that being the case, in the eyedone update, all right, now we went over this course on a stream a few days back when we, created it with whoever was around at that time, eyedone, ironically. When eyedone was chatting with us, and they're like, you sound like a pirate. We're like, well, obviously, we'll make a pirate come and knock down dancers in the player. He wasn't really focusing on the task at hand, so we had to kind of deduce what he might have wanted us to, incorporate. So anyhow, we have in an eyedone, a different eyedone, update on the LimeWire inspired music player. Okay, you go to the IPFS, you go down to the audio section, audio 1, first one on there. That's the music player. You can upload your own MP3s, MP4As, whatever, at your own risk, of course. Decentralized Web3, use at your own risk. But yeah, you got that on there or whatever. And needless to say, we were looking at how to upgrade it, how to make it that next iteration, that next version, this, that, the other. And we, kind of established the fact that we would add dancers and stuff like that, make it a little fun, have some interactability as far as,
you've got mail.
Coming and this, that, the other, knocking them over, having some good fun. And it ended up being quite the, endeavor, the experience, and an amazing time. So, that being the case, all right, we've now have the update up. It's live. It ended up being a little more in-depth than what we would have liked it to be. But needless to say, it's up, it's active, but there's one little problem. That inherently is where we lie now within where we're sitting, okay? We inherently, all right, in the coding and adding the people and the trying to make it fun and interactive and things like that, if you go to the Ember, theme and the volcanic kind of design, this, that, the other, then ironically, it's unfortunate that after a few go-throughs and stuff, when the dudes run in, lighting them on fire, they kind of get a little bundled up or whatever, right? All the people. But of course, you imagine yourself dancing in a club, someone comes by and, ignites you and stuff, and, you're like, you're on fire for a sec. You would probably be fairly not in a great mood or whatever yourself, and you would probably try and huddle together. So, needless to say, if you do go to the player and you do see the people start bundling up at the bottom, just switch to a different theme real quick, and then switch back, and it'll be just as great as it was before, and or not as great as it was before. Yes, that's right, laughter warranted. Anyhow, yeah, so the update is up. It is live. You know, if you have a previously stored version, you're probably going to have to delete the cache and stuff like that, you know, as far as anything on what's saved on your browser. But yeah, man, go have fun. We got the update up there. There's now 6 themes to choose from, with which, man, there's little dancing people and interactive stuff. There's one with a unicorn. He doesn't look that great. That wasn't a joke. That's just, he doesn't look that great, okay? But yeah, there's a robot, there's a yes, hello, and hi. There's a robot, there's a dancing chef that comes by at the birthday party or whatever. He doesn't look that great either. But, you know, again, these are all tweaks. The Ember version, though, where the guy runs by and lights them on fire while they're dancing, that's just pretty inherently funny. Well, you know, in a good way. You know, I mean, it's just little stick figures dancing on a LimeWire-inspired music player, okay? But that's available on the IPFS, so you're welcome to go do that at, you know, your leisure should you feel. And if you don't like music... whoa, that wasn't us. If you don't like music, then, you know, there's other stuff to do on there, too. There's some games and, you know, there's some working demos and things of that nature. You can have a good time there or whatever. We try and keep a little bit of everything. So, you're welcome to check that out, should you choose to, and go from there. But, as we sit here, we acknowledge that the mistake that we made, you know, in the yes, hello, and hi, the mistake that we made in the coding itself is, you know, yeah, after a few scroll throughs of the guy running through, you know, and lighting people on fire, and they're running around while they're dancing like, we're on fire, I don't know, or whatever they say. They don't say anything. They're little stick figures, okay? It's animation, okay? This isn't real. The stuff's on there or whatever, you know, yeah, if they get jumbled up, just switch to a different theme, and it knocks it out. We might fix that later. We might never fix that at all. Now, we might fix that later. Doesn't matter. When, you know, you're independent researcher, a team of one, you know, you kind of address things as you go. And when we create games with the community and we interact with people on the chats and the streams, we've already now made an entire theme. We've made 2 games. These are live and up and running on the site that we have made with the community. We've gotten stuff up day of, all right? Games, Joey's Meat Run. It's a working game that we made with the community and got up day up. This is the future of gaming and decentralization, as far as, like, we don't need all of these massive data centers and things of that nature, because ironically, you know, we can kind of supply and run all this stuff ourselves. And you get a big company like Elon Musk. Where's our signing bonus free Tesla tricked out truck? Elon Musk should be trying to reach out. We're not under an NDA or anything. You get a big company like that to supply an infrastructure that provides, you know, a way to make workaround from not needing these giant, massive data centers that, you know, might pollute, potentially, hypothetically, theoretically, we don't know. We haven't done the science or math behind it or whatever, but we have done the theorizing science and math behind other components of ways that you could, you know, structurally create an infrastructure, okay, to alternatively decouple the entropy and the heat, all right, that's applied, you know, from all these computational, you know, endeavors and things of that nature. So, no way around that. Let's see this. Ireland. I don't know what Ireland is. Ireland. Oh, Ireland. What, the country? Ireland? No, I don't know what that question is. Why did the fall off the tree? Why did the fall off the tree? Probably because it was fall time. We're guessing that in the fall, whence, you know, the cycle of nature, which, you know, I mean, you look at everything cyclically, of course. You look at the cycle, where is your gold? Our gold? If we had gold, do you think that we would just be sitting on it? We would spend it to fix our roof. Do you not see our ceiling? That's not a joke. You know how much we made in our revenue last month? No? Okay, we'll tell you. 11 cents, okay? That's how much we made from people going on to Kindle Unlimited or Amazon of the .com and reading our books, where we get 0.04 cents per page read, okay? Again, that's not a joke. We want people to read our books. Hey, you're mean, Internet. Now, I would expect no less. You always are. But we got our works on there. We made 11 cents. That's not a joke. If we were sitting on a pot of gold, we'd fix our roof and we'd move out of our mom's basement. You guys, needless to say, when you call Daryl Dixon dibs, which we did, and are the best of the worst, which we are, that's right, something to celebrate, then you accept the allotment of what you're given. So, with that being the case, do you have a soundboard? A soundboard? I don't know what that is. Are you talking about that canned laughter? That's our live studio audience back there. That's right. They celebrate and sound the exact same every single show. Doesn't matter. Don't worry about it. Needless to say, as we digress, and as we, get a little bit back to the task at hand, all right, which is kind of proceeding to deal with that of what is always a constant issue and occurrence. And as we know, they're calling now. We got to take this call. It's management. They think they know how to run this place better than us. What do you want? We were on time. We're doing the show. We were about to do that. If you didn't interrupt us, you're going to make us look really bad. That's on you. Tell them to edit it out. Well, see, exactly. Then stop calling while we're doing a live stream. Management. Well, it's this point in the show that we actually like to take the time to apologize for our last show. Sorry about that. All right, excellent. So, moving straight back into it. Hey, Dalmari, welcome. Yes, hey, how's it going? How is the Luke the Hybrid prequel? Everyone, if you don't already know, Luke the Hybrid available on Steam and other, mostly Steam, I think. Doesn't matter. There you got prequel. Domari is here. Sorry to hear again about your channel, brother man. We have been steady at it, trying to provide alternative infrastructure. We got video up on our IPFS now. You can go to our IPFS, and we have working shorts that we've popped up now. Hey, we got a LimeWire-inspired music player if you're into nostalgic stuff, Domari. Old school. Now, we know we're a little before your time, but you're after our time and our time. So, if you ever heard about LimeWire or things like that, we made a Web3 version of that. It's on the IPFS, and if you got an old version of the site, just delete your, cache if it's giving you troubles or issues, or if you haven't been there in a while, Chrome made it to where you need an extension now and stuff like that. If you're not using something that runs IPFS native extension, like Brave, DuckDuckGo or whatever. I don't know, whichever these other ones are. Doesn't matter. But point is that, the LimeWire-inspired music player's on there. You can go, pretty awesome to go check out. Let's check in with this. Currently updated. Rifle Hounds 1942. Excellent. Drastically changing the graphics to look better currently. Well, hey, that's fantastic. And we can't wait to hear more about it. Damari, fantastic to see you, there. Glad to see that the endeavors are, going as planned, and that you're pivoting or whatever from, those couple little unfortunate mishaps and things like that. Planning on adding a lot more features and content to the game. Well, hey, that's rocking. Do me a favor, Dolmari. You want a ad for your game? We'll give you a free ad on our site or whatever there. Send us whatever you want it to, say or do. Send it in an email, man, to the channel, the Punk Rock Review, all right? Send it to there. And, we'll get you an ad for your game on the IPFS site if you want to. Hell, if you got a image or a graphic, then we'll put it on the front page. We can tack that right up by there or whatever. Yeah, you can be the first ad on our micro-sovereign blockchain, the official one or whatever. That'd be rad, man. Feel free to send an email for that, and we can knock that out, no problem. That'd be awesome. Game, whatever you want to supply user-free for us to have as the ad, man. We can work that in for sure, man. That'd be some good fun. We love working with folks to create things and stuff like that. That's why we made a couple of the little fun little ditty games and stuff on there now. Joey's Meat Run, that's on the site and such. You can go play that. We made that with the community or whatever, just a ways back and stuff. But yeah, man, for the more in-depth plays and stuff like that, the stuff that you bring to the table, we would love to supply a ad for you, man, on the site if you want it up there, of course. We get ones of folks there all the time. That wasn't a joke. It's just how many people like to go to the site. But the site's got some awesome stuff on it. So believe you me, we got working demos. We're not sure last time you went there or not, but anyone who inherently digs it, they can ping it themselves or whatever, run it themselves and such. That'd be awesome, because that just helps it, go even faster when people are looking for the stuff. And, we got working swarm mesh demos and things like that on there. The future's around the corner. There's some good fun to be there. But shoot an email, man, to that. We've been rocking, too, if you got any, of your past musical endeavors and things of that nature, man. The LimeWire player will play any of those files and stuff, so it's pretty rad. Recently just beat Super Mario Brothers 2, Lost Levels, original hardware. So we beat Super Mario Brothers 2 on our last life, and get this, we made it to the boss, right, the frog guy that you throw the mushrooms at. We made it to that dude with like probably 4 lives, something like that and stuff. We were in great shape, dude. One of our brothers walked by. Controller got unplugged, and we're sitting there. We didn't know what happened, man. We lost life. And you know how long it takes to get to the boss? We lost 3 lives before we realized the controller was unplugged. We got it plugged back in. We ended up beating the boss. But man, that was one hell of an experience, and yeah, it is extremely. Super Mario Brothers 2, Lost Levels, we can't really speak for us going through those fully completed, but the Mario Brothers 2, we did, entirety go through that run, and yeah, that's an endeavor all on its own. But, needless to say, as we segue back to, kind of the task at hand, which is us acknowledging the, components and aspects of, the flaws in our software, all right? The dancing folks on the Ember screen and stuff like that, they merge together. We'll fix it later. Excellent. Let's see. I don't mean the one with the throwing plants and frog. The one that was... Oh, yeah, the Lost Levels, as I was saying. Yeah, the Lost Levels, we can't speak for that one, per se. Now, we know we have the Lost Levels, and I think it's on the Wii, the 25th anniversary version, I think, came out and had everything on it. In fact, GameStop always tried to email us and get that version back from us. But no thank you, GameStop. We still are not that happy with you as a company. That's right. But yes, we the Mario Brothers 2, the one with the throwing and the plants, frog, whatever. That one, obviously, we did. In its entirety, which is the one that we related to. Don't mean the one with... yeah. Perfect. Excellent. Well, needless to say, as we sit back and think to ourselves today, selves, what is the next creation with which we should undertake? All right? We're kind of done with wanting to tweak around with the music player and such for a sec. So now we want to kind of pivot, all right? And we want to really start playing with that poetry idea, okay? It's not a joke. We want to start playing with the poetry idea of putting a way for folks to send in poems and have them represented on a rotational basis, if they wanted, all right, on a little area or aspect or component of the site, should they desire. And if no one else wants to, okay, that's fine. We'll provide them. Don't worry about it, okay? Every good philosopher needs their own poetry book, so that's obviously why we have our own. Okay? We'll put the poems in there if no one in the community wants to share them, okay? But they can, and, they can be on a rotational basis in there, okay? It'd be some good fun. It'll be right under the ad for, Luke the Hybrid and, what is it, the Rifle Hounds 1942. No save states and no cheats. Yeah, Well, that's the old school game mentality or whatever. Yeah, there are no save states in the Super Mario Brothers 2, and then yeah, lost levels and stuff like that. There's no way to go about just not running through it in its entirety. Mm-hmm. But as we segment ourselves into the next aspect of the show, that's right, we must cleanse the air, because it's time to read a poem. That was 2, it takes 3. Everyone knows that. All right, good. Air cleansed. Now we can read a poem. From where? Our poetry book. It's not a joke. Available on Amazon.com and Kindle Unlimited, where you can read for a free trial and give us 0.04 cents per page read. That equates to ones of cents for us in no time. Fantastic. We're trying to beat that 11 cents we made last month. It's not a joke. All right. Now, as we think to ourselves, what is a poem that we haven't really read on here before? What is a component of our poetic thought and experience and endeavors that we wish to convey on anyone who wishes to hear it? We think to ourselves, let us share one of these how come thoughts. And no better way to do it than to do it right here. So, how come the water trickles when wet is yet to be? Excellent. That's food for thought. How come the water trickles when it's yet to be? Well, that makes you just sit back and think to yourself, in theory, whatever it makes you think to yourself, because that's for you to decide. That's right. But as we finish up now, covering the core mechanics of everything that we needed to in our disclaimers of the stuff that's working and not working, all right, efficiently and effectively in our LimeWire inspired music player, as we address the potential future, okay, of where we want to pivot to, all right, both with the text aspect component and such on the site itself, and with the commercialization, not necessarily commercialization, obviously, but the architectural addition, okay, of an ad space, or we'll call it a shout out, okay, so it's not an ad, is pointing in the right direction, okay, check this out if you feel like it, okay, yeah, it's going to be a fantastic endeavor that anyone can undertake on and see. Yes, I have an imported Famicom disk system. That's the console the gamers. Wow, fantastic! Yeah, there's a lot of those devices and iterations that were, made in limited amounts, limited, scopes and such. Never took off. That inherently, if you are a traditional fan, you will find, such a great, fun, nostalgic play, such a great, fun way to invest your time, such a, historical way to, remember and, interact with an artifact that was created that houses not only, the system itself, but the entire feel of what gaming was at that time in that era, okay? It's the same way if you go back and throw on an original Nintendo versus just playing an emulated port on the PC, okay? There's a massive difference in the entire experience, all right? So, yeah, to score one of those older systems and be able to go through it and experience that as people have or were able to and such in the past, that's fantastic. It really, adds to the experience, and it's a big payoff when you do something like accomplish a complete playthrough or whatever on like the lost levels, things of that nature. It's stuff that, you wouldn't be able to do under the situation and circumstances that you were able to if it weren't for having that hardware. So, to kind of segment back into the site there or whatever, we wouldn't have the issue on the Ember theme, all right, where the guy runs by while all the people are dancing and lights them on fire, and they start running around all like, we're on fire, okay? All right, they're stickmen, remember. All right, we wouldn't have that issue if we didn't add the stick figures and stuff to begin with. So inherently, when they start clumping together after they get lit on fire a few times and things of that nature, it's you can fix it by just swap into a different theme real quick. It's an inherently breaking bug or anything like that, but aesthetically, obviously, it's a flaw in the creation. The same way with any of our literary works, okay? When we find a typo or something that we missed in our proofreading, we're a team of one. All right, when you hit these little, stumbling blocks in your creations and things of that nature, you can either be stiff-necked about it and harden your heart to it and such like that, and, be venomous and animus about it, or, you can kind of be like, well, man, was that a mistake? Boy, we shouldn't have had that typo in there. And roll with it. There was one point in time where, and we know that we have, I think it was 7 to 9 errors, okay, typos, or things that we would like to change. Not necessarily even typos in every component and stance, because inherently there's one or two interpretive, things in there that people might not interpretively, do. When you're talking with metaphysics and stuff like that, it's crazy anyway, doesn't matter. Originally, we wanted to go through and immediately kind of fix it and update it and be like, let's get these typos out of there. But when we were writing Transmutating God and we were going through, our readings and kind of source materials and stuff on this one, there's a great finite understanding that we like to attribute, to ourselves, as far as what we construe as knowledge. Everyone has their own version, iteration, and take thereof. Once again, everything we do on this channel and show is for philosophical entertainment, using, disseminate at your own risk, okay? When you're doing things philosophically, all right, it's all subject to interpretation, and that of what is one's their own interpretation thereof. All right, so when we're doing source material correlation and stuff, and we're writing Transmutating God or whatever, there were components that we stumbled across that were like, I don't think we ever do want to go back and correct any of the typos and things of that nature, because to change what inherently is itself a flaw, all right, doesn't negate the flaw itself. All right. Yes, it sure sheds light on it. All right. It might correct an error, this, that, the other. But there are components of it that are best left for when a second issuing or a second pressing or whatever comes out, or the hardcover edition comes out, things of that nature. Now, obviously, if you go to Amazon.com and Kindle Unlimited, don't buy Delectable unless you're rich on the physical copy, okay? We had to raise the price of it the minute that we proved our theory, okay? You can get the digital version, you can get all that and stuff like that, but, don't, unless you're rich and fucking want to drop the money or whatever, go and buy the physical copy of Delectable, all right? The information contained therein can be obtained with a Kindle Unlimited, just read through or whatever, all right, or a digital copy or whatever version thereof. All right, if you're interested in metaphysics and advanced philosophy and the monographing of lectin, all right, lithos meet logos, okay, that's what we do, okay, thought and physical, they merge, all right. When we have the thoughts that we introduce to the channel and interact with folks in the chat and develop, plans and things, and we actually give a return and create working artifacts that substantiate those interactions, all right, it is a great payoff, and it's fantastic to endeavor and go through. Let's see what we've missed. Haven't imported. The hardest game that we've beaten. Well, that's kind of a tough one. I would say the hardest games that we've beaten would definitely probably stem from the early games that we played on things like Nintendo, and probably Game Boy. When you start looking at games, not necessarily for how hard they are, but when you played them in time. So, for instance, it might be hard to beat Call of Duty Black Ops, okay, campaign, the first one, all right, whatever, I don't know, whatever, Modern Warfare, okay, back when it was good. It's still good, whatever. It might be hard to play on veteran or hardcore mode or anything like that because the dynamics of realism, all right, don't correlate to a youth-minded nature, all right? So when you play a game like, you know, Modern Warfare on veteran or hardcore or the hardest status and things of that nature, when you're 13 or older, it's a lot different than when you're 6, 7. 6, 7, right? That's right, laughter warranted. When you are playing games that have jumping mechanics or platforming games, you look at games, hell, even on PlayStation, okay? Look at games like Crash Bandicoot, okay? We never even beat that game. We didn't even beat the remake. We don't even like that game. Oh, sorry, Internet. We know it's your favorite. We don't like Crash Bandicoot. We never liked it, okay? It's the auto-scrolly jumpy jump, okay? Now, it's not bad, okay? It's actually a good, decent play. Just because we don't like it doesn't mean that the game sucks. Okay? It's all opinionated crap. All right? There's a reason why it sells millions and millions of copies, okay? Because our opinion on it doesn't matter. Anyone else's opinion on it, ironically, doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things if the masses are portraying that return on it. Okay? They're doing something right and correct with it. So when we think of the hardest game that we ever beat, you know, immediately we correlate the things that we did in beating a game. So, for instance, we have beaten the original Super Mario Brothers on Nintendo with 1 life. Okay? That's going through every world, the castles, yes, utilizing warp. All right? We beat it on one man, okay? That's Koopa on the first try, jumping over him, okay? That in itself was bragging rights on the playground days, okay? Now, a lot of kids lied on the playground days. Unfortunately, we had to confess and come clean. We lied on the playground days too, that's right. Now, we're sorry, Internet, okay? It was a different time back then. We didn't have Nintendo until Super Nintendo came out. That's not a joke. We couldn't afford it. You sons of bitches. You wonder, we make 11 cents last month. These aren't jokes. Internet. We would expect no less. That's right, you're ruthless. Just like when our Kickstarter failed. The playground worked differently back then. There was no online multiplayer. There was no even LAN parties back in the day. All right? The LAN party was when it was someone's birthday and they had Super Scope 6. Or it was someone's birthday and they had the power pad. Not when they had the gauntlet glove. Nah, not as impressive. One person at a time, not as fun. The power pad, that was a party. Okay? You put in the Olympics. Oh, man. Track me. Power pad. Bow, 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 bow. Super fun. Games inherently were just different back then. So when we correlate the hardest game that we ever played or beat, you know, yeah, it would be those earlier iterations. And when we mentioned Game Boy, we did specifically because there's games like, you know, The Simpsons, Bart at Camp Deadly, okay? When we were 6, 7, okay? Hold on, management's calling. What do you want? We're doing the show. What do you mean stop doing that? They think it's funny as shit. We'll ask them. Hey, do you guys like 6, 7? Yeah, they laughed about it, so we're doing great. Quit interrupting the show. management keep thinking they know how to run the place better than us. Don't agree with them. Excellent. All right. So, when we were playing Simpsons, Escape from Camp Deadly, or what, you'll have to check the title, okay? We don't necessarily recollect all that. Good old Shyzabox, you know, we can't be perfect all the time. But when we were playing, Simpsons Escape from Camp Deadly, when we were 6, 7, okay? A lot harder than when we revisited that when we were 10, 11, okay? Now, those aren't necessarily the ages in which we played, and the other one and stuff, no, whatever. Point being, yes, you love it. Go on. Touch us through the internet. That's enough. We don't know where you've been. All right, so when we return to that game at an older, state and age, it's a lot easier to use your spit wads. It's a lot easier to dodge some of the camp counselors. It's a lot easier to avoid some of those beehives with which would put an end to your run. And certain lives, yeah, but no continues, really, no saves, really. If there were continues, they were a limited amount. We don't even remember if there was. But we honestly do not think we ever beat that game. But we do remember when we revisited it, being older, beating more of it. And there's sometimes when you do the whole put a game down method, and there's 2 ways to do this nowadays, okay? And for the most part, okay, there's 2 ways to do it. For the most part, nowadays, people will instantaneously jump on the U of the tube and be like, I'm going to get this game done because the next big thing's coming out. But how do you beat this? How do you find that? Where is the best way to get this artifact at? They will reach out on social media. They will form entire blockchains about it on the Reddit, probably, I don't know. Or on the, what's the other little, chat, the Discordies and things of that nature. There will be entire discussions surrounding the best way to do this, that, the other. You have people that formulate stuff for, what are those bigger games and stuff with, like, the actual currencies and things involved. The EverQuesty, like, buildy things and stuff like that. Now, obviously not EverQuest per se, but at one point in time, it held its place, okay? Might still, I don't know. We don't play that. It was paid subscription. We made 11 cents last month. The only thing we're paying for is our life choices. That wasn't a joke, but laughter was warranted because it was funny as shit. That's right. It's because we're funny as shit, internet. You're welcome. Point being is that, we can be the Diogenes, okay? We don't need to, be standing on some high platform or anything like that. We can live in our little dog house and whatnot in our mom's basement and never move out. We can be, lacking a pot of gold with which our Ireland, are we a leprechaun? Are you Irish? Where's your pot of gold? If we had it, we would fix our concealing, okay? We don't need to be successful in presenting what we want to those who want to partake in it, okay? We've structured this show to always be free, okay? The IPFS, everything on there's free, all right? It's not bogged down with anything. You've got LimeWire-inspired music players. You've got games. We got, a couple ways to play videos on there now, or whatever, or, the videos we put on there, obviously, but Web3, it's possible to do all this stuff, and as we showcase these working demos, and these swarm mesh demos, and these games, and these, things that we're creating with the community, literally themes to the, music player itself, literally games that you can go and play now that we made with the community. The other day, we designed the bottom of the page on the, trash.html or whatever on the very bottom, okay? Now it's actually another game. We didn't want it to be a game. It's a placeholder. We'll move it to the arcade with the other games when we get another placeholder there. But that's the stuff that we're creating with the community and those who want to be a part of it and take part in it. Let's see these ones of chat that we're missing. The big JC in the house. And believe you me, we shouldn't have missed that. Friday 13th on NES. Oh, you talking about some classic games there, Big JC. These games functioned on an entirely different level. There was no, well, yes, there were booklets that came with them, but let's be honest, no one read those mostly until you were older, and then you didn't really need to read the booklets with the games that inherently came with them. But there were games like that you wouldn't even know where to begin to know how to play them if you weren't already inherently a little versed with the mechanics, controls, this, that, and the other. But definitely fantastic, mention or whatever. Games like that, a lot different from Paperboy, where it was auto, here's your bike, throw to paper, avoid some stuff. Paperboy was awesome, good fun play. Yeah, without cheating, without walkthroughs, without doing any of the stuff that exists now. And that's what we were saying before. There's two ways to do the gaming nowadays. Immediately, a lot of people go to the walkthroughs and the forums and the chat of the rooms and the, seekings of the videos that have been made on it that portray the best way to tackle obstacle A, B, or C, or beat game A, B, or C, D, E. All right? These people go through this stuff. They find their, ways to kind of cheat the system and advance it because the next big thing's coming out, the next big thing already exists, the next big thing is there for them to play already that they want to throw their hat in the ring on as well and say what it consists of or has there within. So, way back 0102, yeah, absolutely. I think the stress that a lot of games put players under back in the day, all right, inherently, when you say the amount of stress that the game gave you, all right, in late stages, taking years off your life, I think what it did structurally, all right, a lot of these old school games for old school gamers, I think it strengthened their resolve. I think it strengthened their ability, all right, to achieve an overcoming of different stumbling blocks that might be presented to them later on in life, all right? Nowadays, games have those walkthroughs, those cheat codes, those hints that auto-pop up even in some of the games. You have iterations of games that you just change the difficulty to. All right, now we are guilty of this as well in our own inherent design and flaws. In our Shyword game, okay, if you like games like Wordle, okay, and you don't want to just play once a day, go to the IPFS site that we got at your own risk. Okay, go to Shyword, our NML edition, or whatever. You can play our word decryption game, all right? Unlimited, free, no ads, go to town, play to your heart's content. You don't need to play Wordle once a day. Well, you can, if that's what you choose, okay? But you can go to our IPFS site, you can go to our game, Shyword, okay, a word decryption game, and you can have yourself some fun without needing to, wait a whole day to do some Animal Crossing, okay? You laugh, Internet, but, it's entirely true. When games put these limitations on how you can interact with them, how you can play with them, they try and dictate to you how to spend your time, all right? When games give you the answer to the game's problem itself, inherently right out of the gate by auto-popping a hint or giving you the option of this, that, the other, inherently they're just providing you with their own cheat code in the system so that you just run through it and not even experience what they, I guess in essence, don't even know what they are offering or having to present to someone who's playing it to experience, right? Yeah, they lose sight, they lose their way. What are they offering? Are they offering one way to play the game, or are they offering 4 ways to play the game? Okay? Are they more concerned about their working photo system and the camera system in the game so that, a player can take a screenshot than they are with the actual linguistical dialogue that the characters utilize in the game, okay? Or how about the gameplay mechanics, okay? When there's more focus on the derivations that a game offers, then there's a lack of scope on what the game is or what it offers in general for the most part. All right, there's such a divergent, and every iteration is going to get shittier and shittier, okay, inherently by design. Okay? Now, that's not a joke. That's proven. Okay? You have the core game, all right here. Okay? You have what it offers, and it's perfect. Okay? Then you want hard mode. Okay, it's here. Well, here's the scope, still goes here. Then you want medium mode, you want easy mode, you want story mode. Hey, where's the game now? Okay? There's no control on where it is. Sure, it all goes to the outcome. Okay? You start, title screen, pick whatever, goes, outcome. All right? When you get to the outcome up here, what was your experience? Did you create it, or was it created for you? Oh, that's philosophical. Yeah. If one's holding your hand to get you to the finish line, did you even start the race? Something to think about, right? At what point in time did the temperament that gamers experienced or that gamers went through, at what point in time did that change to where there's an instant online culture going to seek down these answers and these ideas and these, streams, okay? It's when it stopped being playground talk, all right, and claims, and it started being almost verifiable to a degree, to an extent, but you ended up with now opinion of massive entities. Okay, you think of your Angry of the Joes, your Mr. of the Beasts, your PewDiePie, right? I don't know, is that a person still? Probably. Maybe not. We never watched them. Doesn't matter. They exist. Did. All right? And they drove player dynamics. They drove player base. All right? And they drove gameplay design, inevitably somewhere, okay? Whether via review, whether by getting, everyone else on the trolley with them, okay? Whether any component or aspect of it, correlated to their mission at hand, their endeavors, their, processes of doing whatever it is they do, all right? Inherently, they led to those gameplay changes and designs and mechanics and things of that nature. But the switch over inherently from that playground, kind of claiming bragging rights, that's exactly where it happened. And you can pinpoint it virtually by console. The minute that about the, Xbox 360 and the PS3 hit, that was the kill switch that completely, shut down stuff, especially after the implementation of trophy systems, things of that nature. Then it completely changed. No longer could the old school gamers like us, who beat stuff like Kirby's Dream Land, who beat stuff like Super Mario Bros. 1 on one life, Super Mario Bros. 2 on our last life when the controller got unplugged because someone walked by and knocked the controller out, and we lost 3 lives when we were fighting the boss. We found out at the end, plugged it in, and still brought it back in a magnificent form and fashion to beat the game. That's right. This wasn't live streamed. This isn't on video. These are, you either believe us or you don't, okay? There's a point in time now with trophy systems and things of that nature where it's like, okay, show us the trophy, show us the proof, show us the screenshot, right? All of this stuff exists now. So that's the hard switch cutoff. The minute that there became accountability towards, gameplay, inherently it cut off the claims that, subsided, thereafter, being claimed, because without the proof, you must have quit. Excellent. Let's see the ones of chat that we're missing. I've beaten Castlevania, Contra 1 and 2 with no codes. Oh, you beat Contra 1 and 2 with no cheat codes? Not even the extra lives? Oh, man! Hold your hand up to the screen. I need to touch you. All right, that was enough touching. A little weird. Don't worry about it. That's between me and him. Oh, that is mad props. Jeez. I wish we could beat Contra 1 and 2 with no cheat codes. I don't even think we can beat it with cheat codes. You know how fast that fire comes towards us and we're trying to jump over it? But dude, the same speed, but it doesn't matter. Point is, I guess we're just not that good. Ninja Gaiden 2 again. I mean, yeah, on NES, these are Mega Mans themselves. Now little save features eventually in some games, but Man, you remember the way that you used to have generated codes? You would have like these long series of like numbers, like an IPFS site for an NES game. You had to go through and stuff like, do you have a save file? Yes. And like you're sitting there after you lost a game and you got your continue file and you're trying to write it in the booklet and it's like 16 figures or numbers or letters and stuff. You're like, oh man, I'm gonna continue from this point and stuff, because game companies didn't want an easy fix for, people finding ways to, get past their games that now inherently they bake into them generically, just in their structuring in general. Crazy times. I landed the jet on the aircraft carrier and Top Gun on the NES. It seemed damn never impossible back in the day. I wouldn't be surprised. Now, Top Gun on NES, I think that we played that. If that's the one you take off, okay, because there's a couple flight games. We took off, from an aircraft carrier. We might have fought and beat all of the bogeys in the sky, but landing, that was a beast. That was an entirely different entity on all of its components and aspects. In fact, oh man, that's something that we need to get back on the site. We had, on one of our older iterations and stuff, we dinked with it for a minute. We had a working little flight simulator on the IPFS, and theoretically, man, we haven't gone and poked around and stuff, but we do have old index versions that you can technically get to, via linkages and stuff like that if you go through it. So it's kind of funny, actually. But theoretically, that's in there somewhere or whatever. If you go to the IPFS site and stuff, you can play that as well. But yeah, a little flight simulator and stuff. That's some good fun. That's on there. We need to go through and update that. That's what we should make. A little flying game, but it'd probably end up being something like, Asteroids or Gladius. In fact, we had another little asteroid version on there too. That was fun. We need to do that again. Now, all these things are super fun. We definitely gotta return to a couple of those. That one wanted to throw a party. Absolutely throw a party after a big accomplishment. Nowadays, big accomplishments in games virtually don't exist. Okay? The big accomplishment is really only existence for those who, watch the one video that gets the most likes, the most views, the most, mechanical and visual witnesses, okay? When you have people downloading a clip of, Leroy Jenkins, okay? That shit's funny as hell. That's one of the best video game clips of an era, is when Leroy Jenkins, okay, single-handedly pretty much destroyed his whole guild by just being oblivious to what was going on, okay? The amount of organization that initially took priority and precedence in gameplay and gaming culture was non-existent virtually at that point in time, right? That's right. You had guilds that would get together and eventually construct how future games would work, how future games would have those dynamics interact, and how future services like Discord and, other ones and stuff like that, allow people to get together in these forums and groups and things of that nature, okay, and have a guild or a way to even communicate with themselves. Sometimes even in games themselves. Think mobile gaming, things of that nature, where inherently you have these, kind of guild-like features and stuff like that, where you invite your friends, you get them to play as well, too. You have all of these components that correlate and come together. It makes for quite the time sink as far as, the longevity of play that people can have. A lot of them are extremely fun, and before you know it, you're days in and dollars short because you accidentally spent a couple bucks. Point being is that, these things are great, and the amount of partyage after accomplishing a great feat, like a successful raid or beating a game and things of that nature, what used to be the dynamic of what it amounted to has definitely changed, because like we said, it's the big streamer now that beats the game. Some people don't even play the game. They don't buy it. They don't try it. They watch a couple highlight reels. They sit back while they're eating, dinner after work or something like that or whatever in the AM hours, and their favorite streamer had streamed, 2 days ago and they missed it, and, they're munching down or whatever and just watching, some dude play a game that they are never going to buy or play for themselves. That becomes, though, that iteration of the game, all right? Say the streamer's playing on easy mode. Say they're playing on hard mode, okay? Whatever that person witnesses is going to be what they go back to work and tell. Be like, oh, yeah, I was watching a guy play that or whatever. It seemed pretty easy. That game looked like it was shitty, right? Because, he was on easy mode. He was on story mode. It didn't have the full working mechanics, okay? It was censored. It was edited. Whatever. Or he was playing it, on hard mode, vice versa. And like, oh, that game was extremely difficult. I don't think I'd ever want to play that game, all right? You look at stuff like Elder Scrolls, all right? And you look at stuff like Dead Souls, okay? Now, inherently, Demon Souls, whatever. These games play entirely different, all right? Sure, there's some fighting elements and stuff like that, but when you go through Demon Souls, it's a hell of a lot different than watching someone go through something like the Elder Scrolls series or Skyrim or something like that, okay? These games that don't handhold now provide the biggest bragging rights, in the modern times and stuff, if one lays claim to them and stuff. I beat Bloodborne, okay? I beat, Demon Souls 1 to 14, whatever. That's inherently where the hard lies now. You're From Softwares and things of that nature, if we recollect correctly, which we might not. Doesn't matter. Point being is that, it all culminates into where it's going in the future, all right, with how things will be perceived and going onward, okay? The next console's around the corner, okay? The next Grand Theft Auto's coming out, okay? Those massive time sinks that just pause society, or pause an entire, not society per se, but pause an entire apparatus, okay? The gaming industry will sit on a virtual standstill for at least a couple days, okay? For at least a week, all right? People be playing that, right? When it comes out, you have those big releases that just shut everything else down, all right? It used to be the case with some of those Call of Duties and things of that nature or whatever that would come out, and then, all of a sudden, the player base on other games drops drastically, and, the new kid on the block, okay? Joey was the hot one. No, sick! Bleh. You got, the new kid on the block that takes all the player base or whatever and becomes the, next big thing that the streamers play, that the people after work end up eating dinner and watching, that, correlates to how people feel about a game, view it, as far as what it is. So, a lot of. Let's see what else we meet. It really did require a fighter spirit to beat some of the old NES games. That's right! You needed a fighter spirit to go through and not only beat any of the old NES games, but virtually any of that entire era and before. Think Atari, think Virtual Boy, think Game Boy, think even the little Konami and Tiger handheld games, okay? Soccer, football, the track and field, all right? Basketball. All of those little Tiger handheld games inherently themselves, those were the first of their kind for the mobile gaming versions, Snake, things of that nature. Those themselves provided a challenge, especially if you were 6, 7, right? And or older or anything like that. You could go play those now, and they'd probably provide the same type of challenge. Tamagotchi's hard. How do you not off that thing every time? I guess you're not supposed to overfeed it. We don't know. Stop letting us touch your Tamagotchis in the 3rd grade, and then maybe you'll still have it. Point being, what's that about? Nah, don't worry about it. What's a Tamagotchi? What's a Tamagotchi with you? these things that are out there, that required, the dedication, the devotion to go through them. That's what inherently ingrained in individuals back in the day, something that inherently is being skipped over by today's standards and metrics. Now, whether you think that's a good thing or a bad thing, all right, there's definitely a stepping stone and a hurdle that's being, unfortunately, missed in its entirety, all right, as far as the structuring of patience and problem solving and, activity and things of that nature. When you have folks that, get to a problem in a game or a dynamic in a game, a puzzle that just throws them into a tizzy and they can't solve it, back in the day, the only option was setting it down, coming back to it later, maybe trying to, think it out upon, the not play sessions and stuff like that while you're in school. Like, man, I guess I'll play that when I get back home after school's out today. Doesn't matter. All right, you have these dynamics now where people don't need to do that. They're just like, oh, what a puzzle. YouTube.theofcom. How do you beat this mission? How do you find this thing? Where is this located at in this? And it's available day of. Because these games, these companies, they provide these review codes, these outlets. You have people that comb this stuff, all right, and put all of these things together within, minutes, hours, days, weeks of when entire games have come out that have taken, weeks, months, years, to create and to present forth and to, give to the players in general. The Simpsons games on the NES and Game Boy are damn near impossible. Well, that's exactly the one we were talking about earlier. Simpsons Escape from Camp Krusty or Camp Deadly. The Bart Simpson Escape from, Camp Deadly, Camp Krusty. That game itself, we love so much because it was one of the first games that had audio in it. Okay? He would say, "Eat my shorts," or "Hey, stop it, Bart." Lisa would, if you went and, smacked her or threw something at her, shot a spitball at her, okay? And "Ay caramba," okay? He would say these little phrases depending on what happened in the game. And that was virtually unheard of in games back in the day. You might be saying that, it's old news now. Now people nitpick, the mouth movement and stuff like that if it's off or whatever. Think of all those Mass Effect Andromeda stuff or whatever. That whole thing was entirely funny, as far as the look that companies thought that they could get away with as far as what technology provided and afforded and the price that they were trying to get, reflected thereon. But they definitely were damn near impossible, and they provided challenges all on their own, especially without the saves, especially without the continues, especially without any of that. It was a cut and paste dry run. If you were playing the game and you were going for the beat all method, you gave it a run. There were some times if you were doing that and you literally were setting out to make that lofty of a goal, all right, and you got to a certain point and you did something bad, or you cost yourself an extra life, or you did something inherently that you're like, well, I can't beat it now. Sometimes you might just call it quits then and restart it, okay? Maybe not everyone, but some people surely did. That's right. Think of all those speedrunners or whatever now, that go for records on games to do it, fast as possible. If they do something after an hour of a speed run that takes 3 hours, okay, to complete, all right, even at its best, they know that they did something so drastically wrong, like, oops, I missed a jump. I missed an enemy. I missed a power-up. Whoops. They call it quits, okay, right? Because they single-handedly know already that, it's not going to be in the cards on that run to achieve that goal. So as goals change, is the goal to beat games now that were impossible back then? Is the goal to have, a manner and a way of having different modes so that everyone can experience the game in its entirety? Or do you get to be like From Software and have, here's the game, linear track or whatever they have, resounding success around them, and people that inherently enjoy those gameplay mechanics and those harder gameplay elements, okay? Not for everyone, obviously. But we digress fairly far from the flaws that are within our coding on the LimeWire player and all that. But because They exist and they are what they are, and they can be solved with just merely toggling to a different theme. We think to ourselves, what do we have in store for the rest of today? No, nothing. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe we'll write a book. Maybe we'll change around the site. Maybe we'll work on the poetry cuboctahedron. Sky's the limit. And the limit is everyone's wallets. So, if you want to get out of here now before us, now's your chance. Hit the road, because, as always, that's going to do it for us now. We'll probably be back later to do something else later. We don't want your subscription. We want your money. Downvote the shit out of this. Go to Cashapp and give us $1. Get off our lawn.